How do you get better at running on hills, especially if you're on the trails? This is a question I get a lot from the ultramarathon community because most ultramarathons will have hills in it. Now, some of them are flatter, and that's great, and that's awesome, and I do love me a good flat race. But let's just say you're training for a race with some sort of hills. A lot of times when I work with athletes, this is the hardest part of the race for a lot of people, is the hills and is the climbing. And whether it is your breathing is something that's limiting you, right? You're going uphill and you're breathing a lot harder and heavier, and it's harder to sustain that breathing at a good, easy intensity. And or you're in a position where your legs are really dying out, right? You get that heavy feeling in the legs, you're pushing uphill and it's not really motoring as much as possible. There is one workout that I call a cheat code workout that can actually help you to not only get better at climbing, but to get fitter overall. And this kind of workout is a very special workout that I learned from a lot of elite athletes who were out there just crushing these mountain races. And as I was studying their Strava, and as I was looking into exercise theory, and as I was looking into science, and as I was looking into some of the best performing athletes in the world, this workout comes up a lot, and one that I think has been a staple in my training over the past years of my ultramarathon training. And this has helped me to get stronger on climbs, breathe better on climbs, and ultimately perform better in races where there's a lot of hills. And this is a workout that I also implement for a lot of athletes as well who are especially training for hilly races. Now, by the way, this workout, you can do this on trails, you can do this on hilly roads, and you can even do this on a treadmill. And I think on a treadmill, this can be a powerful workout too, but it's a beautiful day outside. It's super, super nice. Also, it's probably not as interesting seeing me run on a treadmill, which I don't know, maybe if that is something that interests you, let me know and we can make a video. But we're out here on the trail today doing this workout, the cheat code workout. And this is basically doing similar to a workout of what we did in the last video where we did a tempo workout, except we did that on flat. And a lot of times when we think about speed workouts, we're doing them on flat stuff. And a lot of times when we think about hill workouts, we'll tend to do shorter, more intense bouts on hill repeats. But this is something that takes the tempo workout and takes the hill workout. And it's like if they met, they went out to dinner, they had a great conversation, and then they went home and had a baby. I don't know if that was a little bit more of a very, very graphic metaphor, but basically the product of that amazing one night stand of those two things is the tempo hill workout or the cheat code workout. So what it basically is, you take the same structure that you would have in a tempo workout that you would do on a flat, and you take that same application and you put it on hills. If you're doing this on a trail or a road, the ideal scenario is that you get as much of the uphill as possible in that tempo section, because that's going to help you to develop better climbing. Now, why is that? Well, number one, it's going to help to not only just get you fitter by getting a good tempo workout, but it's also going to help you to develop better running economics when you're going uphill. So running economics, again, just to refresh, we talk about this a lot here, is the ability to make more output out of the power you're giving into it, AKA you get to go faster for least amount of effort, which is something that we all want. And it's going to help to prevent or help to create better running form uphill, because the faster you run, the more that your body's going to tend to run in better running form. And so if you're able to run faster uphill in those workouts, it helps to get your body a little bit more efficient at moving uphill. And the third thing as well too is it builds muscular strength specific to the muscles that are going uphill, because that's exactly what you're doing, at a higher intensity, so you get a little bit more of that compounding effect of building those strong muscles going uphill. So all those combined, if you're doing these workouts, they make you into a hill monster out there. And so doing that can be really, really good. Now, just a refresh on these tempo workouts, these are a 6 to 7 rated perceived exertion, which Christian has always put in the rated perceived exertion graph onto here too. Rated perceived exertion just means going by feel. And this is something that is comfortably hard. A little bit of a paradox there, a little bit of an oxymoron, but that being said, it should be hard, but you can sustain that for about an hour. And this is the intensity that you want out here too. So same interval structure as the tempo workouts that we kind of talked about last week, where, you know, you can be anywhere between 6 to 15, upward of 20 minutes per interval. And you can be anywhere between that same amount of time and intensity at 28 minutes upward of to, 45 or 60 minutes, depending on how, what your experience level is. And so we're going to take that same structure here today. And today's workout is going to be 4 times 8 minutes, 6 to 7 RP, on as many uphill as possible. And then 4-minute recovery in between with about a 25-minute warm up and then a cool down. Basically, I'm just gonna cool down as long as I can today before I have to hop in and get to work in some meetings today too. So that's today's workout. Now, I will say big disclaimer on here too. If you are doing a route like today, I'm not gonna be able to do an 8-minute all uphill, which, by the way, that's why a treadmill is so good for these workouts, because literally you can just crank that puppy up in an incline and just run 8 minutes uphill. And there's no downhill. You're just running straight uphill. That's why treadmills, I think, are a great option for this too. Now, for the sake of content and not seeing me on the treadmill, we're out here on the trails. And if you don't have access to a treadmill, or you just hate the treadmill so much and you're like, that sounds miserable, which first of all, I will say, even if you hate the treadmill, get on there once a month, or maybe once every 2 months. Because listen, sometimes it's good to do the things that you hate to do, because guess what? There's gonna be times in ultra marathon where you're looking at things and you're like, I don't wanna do this. And sometimes you do need to get that practice of doing the things you don't wanna do so that you can be more resilient in those scenarios. Now, I'm not saying do it all the time, because you want to enjoy the training. You want to enjoy the running. That's why I'm not saying if you hate the treadmill, do it all the time. But do it every once in a while just to get out of your comfort zone. So here in Phoenix, we got mountains, but it's really hard to find a hill that you can go up for 8 minutes. I think the closest one's maybe an hour away. So you're going to get some downhills in there. Now, if you do get some downhills in there, this is a really, really just key caveat, is the rate of perceived exertion target is 6 to 7. And so usually what I like to say is on the downhills or the flats, take those at a 6, and then the uphill, take it at a 7. And more of the reason for that is because when you're going downhill, it can be more impactful on the legs, and you don't want to gas your legs out as much, on those tempo workouts going downhill. And also too, it's just going to be a little bit more risky just from an energy perspective and a physical perspective. So you want to taper it down to the low end of that RPE. And then when you're going uphill, you can kind of ratchet it up more to that 7 RPE as well too. Very, very close in ranges in terms of how it feels out there, but just something kind of will modify too. So not talking, we're going to get to it. So we're going to start the warm up on this little bike path here. Yeah, we're going to let it rip on some trails today. Let's go. Hey, real quick, if you're training your butt off for your next ultra marathon and you're not seeing results or hitting a plateau, we would love to help you crush your goals and help you make new progress in your training through our Everyday Ultra coaching services. So if you want to work with us, you can book a free consultation call to see if we'd be a good fit, because we want to help you make progress in your ultra training, even if you're hitting a plateau, to hit new heights. So book a call at theeverydayultra.com or in the link below, and we'd love to chat with you. All right, back to the video. By the way, sunglasses actually reduce rate of perceived exertion, which is kind of interesting. If you're squinting, like that squinting, like does take some energy. So I actually learned that, I was like looking up some stuff. And so sunglasses actually can reduce your rate of perceived exertion, and it can save some energy over time. So that's why I always like to take sunglasses, not from withstanding the fact that it, just sucks to just get blinded by the sun, but we got these bad boys for when the sun breaks out. Little warm up here, nothing to it. Again, the point is just to warm up, take it nice and easy, don't push it. Had a crazy busy last few weeks. We're kind of on the 3rd week of a build cycle, which, I usually say I'm gonna build for at least 3 weeks, sometimes upward of 6. And then when your body is starting to feel a lot of fatigue, pull back for a week, just let the body rest and recover and come back stronger. It's gonna be time for a deload week next week. So that's why even with workouts, when you're structuring a training plan, the closer you get to the deload week, the less time and intensity you wanna have. After a deload week, you wanna have your highest time and intensity session. So let's just say we're going from the tempo workout structure. You go at a workout that's 5 by 10 minutes at 6 to 7 with 5-minute cool down. That's 50 minutes time and intensity. Now that's a really intense workout. Only do that if you're experienced. But the closer you get to a deload week and the more you're building your volume, the less time and intensity that you want to have within that cycle. And the reason for that is twofold. Number one, you want to be the freshest for your hardest workout. So you measure how hard a workout is by your time and intensity. So that 50-minute workout, if we compare it to today's workout that we're doing, way harder, right? Because today's workout time and intensity, 4 times 8, 32 minutes. So it's significantly harder. So you want to be fresher for the hardest workout, because you're going to get the most bang for your buck being the freshest out there. Whereas if you're a little bit more beat up and you're also increasing volume, you're gonna be less recovered for those later workouts, which is why you take down the time and intensity. Now, another reason for that too is because the higher you build your volume, which you should be in the middle of a block, you should not be increasing your intensity at the same time if you're following this training format. Now, there are some uses and applications where increasing intensity and increasing volume can be useful, but for the sake of block periodization training, you want to be in a position where you're not increasing volume and you're not increasing intensity at the same time. So you decrease the intensity, increase the volume. That'll keep a risk management perspective, because sometimes I see people get injured when they increase intensity and they increase volume at the same time. And it's just a recipe for disaster. We're gonna have a pretty big week of volume this week, so we're taking down the intensity. Also, along with taking down the intensity, you can also take down the amount of speed workouts that you're doing. So if you're doing like 2 speed workouts the first 2 weeks of building, that last week of building, you might just take it down to 1. Someone told me, they were like, I think there's a really long hill on the road that's over here. And I was telling our amazing camera guy, Tyler, shout out to Tyler, by the way. His link is in the show notes if you are local in Phoenix looking for a videographer, or if you have a dope race and you need someone to come out, do some film, pictures, whatever you need. But anyways, I was telling him, I was like, someone told me there was a hill here. And I don't think there is, so we're improvising, pivoting. It's the name of the game in ultramarathons, is pivot. You know, there's one of these things too where I've been doing this a lot lately, and this is something that I suggest for anyone who maybe gets really down on themselves if you're looking at an easy pace. And I know we're talking about hard workouts today, but here's a little tip you can use for your warm-ups and easy workouts, because those are very important, is that what's the point of the warm-up? The point of the warm-up is just to warm up. It's not to work out, it's not to push yourself. You're literally warming your body up. And what's the point of an easy recovery run? Take it easy, recover. I remember when I first started to be in the world of ultra running, sometimes I would do a hard workout and I look down at my easy pace and I see it's a little slower in my head. I'm like, no, I gotta speed it up a bit. And I push my body harder to try to hit certain splits. But here's the reality. If you do a speed workout, very likely the next day your body's gonna be fatigued and it will go slower. That's just how it goes. You are going to break your body down a little bit more. And so if you're running at an easy intensity and you are moving slower, and then now you see, oh God, I gotta push it a little bit harder to get faster, you might not be running easy anymore, and you destroy the whole point of what you're trying to do. So something that I've been doing a lot, especially as it gets hotter out, that's another thing too, it is physiologically impossible to go the same pace at the same intensity in a hotter temperature. Meaning, if you run at easy intensity in 90-degree heat, and you run that same easy intensity at 60-degree heat, you're guaranteed going to be faster than that 60-degree heat. So because of all that, I don't really look at my paces on easy runs, not looking at my pace here on the warm-up. You just adjust to where the body is at, and that way easy stays easy, and you make those same results. And the same thing goes true with intense workouts, right? Like 6 to 7 could be way harder, will be way harder in a more hot environment. It will be way harder when you're more fatigued. And unless there's like a specific time goal you're going at that time and intensity, so think about like marathon workouts where they're like, hey, you're going at marathon pace, that's fine. But in ultra marathons, rarely are you going out at a 6 to 7 until the very end. And even at that point, your splits are going to be a little different because you're going to be fatigued. But nonetheless, like, focus on the intensity. Don't focus on the splits, because the intensity is going to meet your body where it's at. You're going to make the adaptations, and you're not going to over push yourself to try to hit a pace that might be a little bit more arbitrary. Today's one of those days, you know, where you just wake up and you're like, I'm freaking tired. Like, man, we got a lot going on. There's a lot of things going up on the old noggin, and you feel the weight of the training. So I think those days, I would say, F the watch, F the pace. Let's just run on intensity. That's it. And if we're a little slower, who cares? We're doing the work, baby. That's all that matters. Measure yourself and how much you show up over what the result is. And I'm not saying the results don't matter, because they do, for sure, 100%. But we can be so hard on ourselves, like, oh, man, today was like a slower workout. And again, I'm not saying dog it purposefully, but we can get so hard on ourselves to be like, oh man, today was a slower workout. When it's like, hey, you still showed up. You still were in the right intensity zone. That's what matters. That's what's gonna get you where you need to be. Because it's so easy to crush it on a day where you feel good, but it's hard to show up when you feel not so great. And I'm not saying push through days where you're overly exhausted or you feel like injuries creeping up. But on the days where you don't feel like it, you showed up, you made it happen, now we're cruising, baby. We're just rocking it. Being proud of yourself for showing up. Got these carbon plated trail shoes on, Nike Ultrafly. If you're doing speed workouts, I always recommend getting some carbon plated shoes. I actually put out a recent podcast episode talking about overrated and underrated. And to the shock of many people, I say carbon plated trail shoes are overrated. And you might say, Joe, you said they were overrated and you're wearing them now. I'll talk about this on the podcast. But what I mentioned was, like, I think if you're doing a road marathon or like track workouts, road workouts, carbon plated shoes, very suitably rated. When I say overrated, when I say underrated, I would say like, hey, there's people doing track workouts in Vaporflies or carbon plated shoes, very aptly rated. But I think for a carbon plated trail shoe, the reason why I say overrated is I don't think everybody needs them. I like to splurge. I like to pay the extra dollar to get the top end stuff, but I don't think everybody has to. I would say like first class for flying. Like, nobody needs to be in first class. Like, you don't need to be up there. Like, there's no need. You can get to the same destination by riding coach. It's just a much more pleasurable experience to be in first class, but it costs a lot. And I kind of think carbon plated trail shoes are a lot like first class. You don't need them, but it can make the ride a little bit more fun and a little bit more enjoyable. So whenever I do these hill workouts, I like to do the warm up on flat or on rolling hills if you can manage the intensity. But by doing it on flat, you can like do a lower intensity while warming up with running. Whereas like sometimes if you're going uphill, it's kind of hard to be in that easy, really easy zone you want to be when you're warming up. So that's why I like to be on flats first. And it's convenient because the mountains are yonder and there's like this bike path in the middle of the mountains. All right, warm-up's done. Got about like 2.2 miles in. Now I'm just looking at the trail of my impending death. No, I'm kidding. We're gonna crush this thing. But as always in a routine, taking a gel right beforehand just to get some extra carbs in the system. Fuel on your interval workouts, kids, because that'll be really, really good. Wash down. All right. Okay. Getting pumped. Alrighty. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Second interval. Yeah, buddy. Woo. We're doing it. Easy day. Everything about motivation into my thinking. And then when you hear the answer, you're like, what the hell? Stay tuned. I'll tell you, I'll have to cool down. workout. Doing good. Woo. All right, we just got one more. One more. Nice one. Woo. Let's go, baby. All right, done with the workout. Felt really good out there. And after these tempo workouts, like, you shouldn't be like so exhausted you can't cool down. Because theoretically you can hold that intensity for an hour. And if you're only doing intervals of 8 to 15 minutes, theoretically you should have enough rest time in there to be able to feel pretty good after. So if you're feeling like super spent after, it's okay. That's normal if you're new to these workouts, but also it might mean you're going a little bit too hard because you want to have a little bit of energy in the left to do a cool down, which we'll do a pretty long cool down today. Just to kind of add on top of it. And also too, it's good to like get some miles out after destroying the legs a little bit, because you get to build that ultra, not only durability, but mindset as well too. Oh, I forgot to mention, when I was going up that third interval, I said I would tell you what I was thinking of. Now, do not judge me. Like, because here's the thing. If something gets you through something that's hard, who cares what other people think about it, right? It doesn't matter if it's stupid, silly, whatever, because this is definitely silly. All right. Bear with me, because I'm going to start this off and you're like, where the hell is this going? So I was watching a movie last night, Five Nights with Freddy's. If you haven't seen it, it's like a horror movie based on a video game where there's like basically Chuck E. Cheese animatronics like trying to kill the security guard and people in there. It's like crazy movie. So anyways, there's one animatronic who's like a fox. I swear, I told you this is weird. So one animatronic who's like a fox. And he's like really like sneaky and stuff, but the way that he gets people is he like runs and like snaps and just totally has this intensity and gets the person, right? But there's this one scene that I kept thinking about there that kind of kept me going, where like the security guard or someone, I forgot exactly who it was, but someone's like trying to get out and the door's locked and the fox is coming up, and you just hear him really slowly just go dum da dum 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 da dum dum, and literally all I could think about was that one like song in my head, just like dum, and I was thinking about being the fox, being like, all right, I'm like hunting the prowl, just going, and I was just thinking dum da dum dum dum. So like, yeah, that was dum da dum 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 for sure. But hey, it got me through. It made me laugh along the way. Whatever you can do to get through these hard interval workouts. Me, it was thinking of some cheesy horror movie, but we got it done. So we're gonna go cool down, but I gotta hit the bathroom because I was definitely fighting for my life, trying not to, you know what, myself in that last interval. So we're gonna go that, hit a cool down. But thanks for joining us. See ya on the next episode of this 100-mile prep leading into Kodiak 100. Let's go.